In my presentation, I'm going to explain how I would try to develop oral skills in students after grade 4. I will focus also on two other basic skills, which are writing and digital skills. According to Teresa Tishakov, both speaking and writing are productive language skills, which means I would mostly work with language output and implementing digital skills. Oral skills involve both oral production, that is speaking a language by using one's speech organs, and oral perception, which refers to listening. But in my activities, I'm going to concentrate mainly on oral production. When it comes to activities, the main activity of the classroom instruction will be to give oral presentation describing Christmas in Norway. My class will get in touch with one of the elementary schools in Ireland via etwinning.net website. In addition to oral skills, working with the website and creating PowerPoint presentation, my students will develop writing and digital skills. For many students, speaking English can be a frightening task due to the demand to perform and produce, but I will try to create a classroom environment of low stress, low risk activities, providing pre-speaking preparation, allowing time to practice, and providing supportive feedback on speaking activities. To do that, I would utilize the process speaking cycle proposed by Jeremy Harmer, and by doing that I would scaffold speaking tasks and support students' preparation for oral communication in a low-stress environment. Students will work in small groups and record presentations using iPads or computers. In step number 1, which is pre-speaking, I would provide students with words, sentence frames, and structures typical for presentations. I would also show students a model presentation recorded by myself beforehand in order to activate students' schemata, which is background knowledge of the topic. In this case, that would be Christmas in Norway. In step number 2, which is practice, I will implement the writing activity by asking students to use graphic organizers, such as mind maps, where they can write down or brainstorm all the important aspects of Christmas in Norway. In step number 3, which is actual speaking activity, students will record themselves and I would give them feedback, and that would be step number 4. And in step number 5, students will record themselves again and prepare a final version of the presentation. This oral task in my classroom instruction would be primarily extensive activity with practice speaking at length, allowing students to interact with one another, exchanging information, and discussing various matters. As Teresa Tishakov mentioned, I would focus on fluency and accuracy, as both very important and needed to aid the development of oral skills. Here is a very important point I would like to make. When it comes to pronunciation and grammatical forms, native versus non-native, I would concentrate on my students' communication and intelligibility with lingua franca core pronunciation features in mind. This means I wouldn't correct students when they speak and they drop the third person singular, for example, she suggests instead of she suggests, or when they mispronounce, for example, th sound in English. Instead of saying then, they say then. I wouldn't correct that in speaking, but I would correct that when they are writing and when they are making PowerPoint presentation. As Henrik Bøhn or Thomas Hansen points out, rather than native speaker perfection, it would be better to focus on intelligibility, fluency, and students' ability to adapt to the situation and to the interlocutor for developing learners' English oral skills. Furthermore, Henrik Bøhn or Thomas Hansen suggest that it may be a good idea to focus more on native speaker standard in written communication. I would like to add that also the curriculum specifies that students need to adhere to language rules and to express themselves in idiomatic English. When it comes to writing skills, the main part of writing activity and developing writing skills would be making presentation in PowerPoint. As I mentioned before, I would introduce students to sentence frames, vocabulary and structures. As a warm-up activity before actual writing, I would ask students to perform some kind of rush writing, which means that students would write as much as possible, not thinking about grammar, spelling or accuracy. As I mentioned before, here in written part of our activity, I would focus on spelling, syntax and other grammatical mistakes. But during oral and written part of the task, I would keep in mind the hypothesis of comprehensible output, which was presented by Marius, and it goes like this, that the act of speaking with others is seen as a significant, deeply cognitive activity that should be part of learning oral skills in English. To be more specific, I would follow Canali and Swain's model of communicative competence, especially strategic competence, which means adjusting accordingly to our audience, and sociolinguistic competence, which means social rules specific for oral presentations. When it comes to digital skills, I believe that by using eTwinning website and iPads, I would follow recommendations made by Teresa Tishakov, who said that by adding digital skills and intercultural element, I could work with communication with school children in other countries, and could also be a natural way to create interest and motivation for communicating in English. When it comes to competence aims, I would like to say that communication is one of the core elements of the English subject, a subject which is to give pupils a basis to communicate with others locally and globally, regardless of cultural or linguistic background. Furthermore, it's also said that communication in English is to help bring understanding among speakers of different cultural backgrounds, which may develop intercultural competence. It also says that opplæringen skal legge til rette for at elevene får utfolde seg og samhandle i autentiske og praktiske situasjoner. Communicating globally and developing intercultural competence would be the main activity in my class instruction. Furthermore, it's worth to mention that the curriculum specifically notes that the need to master a wide range of oral skills, including the ability to converse, to describe, to discuss, to elaborate on, and to express oneself. When it comes to competence aims after grade 4, which would be specifically in my class, I would like to mention 4 competence aims I would like to work with. The first and the most important one would be samtale om noen sider ved ulike levemåter, tradisjoner og skikker i den engelskspråklige verden og i Norge. The second one would be følge enkle regler for rettskriving og setningsstruktur. The third one, skrive enkle tekster som uttrykker tanker og meninger. Og the fourth one, bruke digitale ressurser til å utforske språket og samhandle med andre. I would like to make the last point about pronunciation, that in LK20 there is no reference to pronunciation. Importance of English as international communication is stressed out. And the main point, the last one, is that to avoid uncertainty, I would use the lingua franca core for guidance in my instruction. Thank you very much.